Oh yeah.
Can you tell it's been a while since
You're
we've done a stream?
Yeah, you're in the left, I'm in the right. Both there, Steph.
Nice. So hello everyone, welcome to the Terminals 2.0 stream. Highly professional as always. Hi, I'm Stephanie. I work on the community and social media team at Evolve, and I am joined by Bryden.
That's me. I work on the PR end of things.
And then we have Astrid in chat, who is also in the community and social media side. So Astrid will be in chat to answer any questions as we go along. We'll do more of like a verbal Q&A towards the end. First, we're going to do more of like an overview, like introduce you to the new terminals, kind of why Terminals 2.0 happened, and then go over the new website, and also kind of cover some of the known issues that we're working on, because right now there's not really a place to see that. And then we'll do more of like the Q&A towards the end. And for people who are asking, we will be recording this. We'll put up the VOD probably on YouTube. We'll tweet it out as well. And we'll also try to like chop it up into sections and post it on Twitter for like more educational stuff. But yeah, let's jump into it. So it would help if I had my document open. There we go. All right. So first off, what is Terminals.io? Bryden, I feel like you're a really good one to talk about since you've kind of been here since the beginning of Terminals.
Yeah.
And for me, it's I don't work with it as much on the social community side, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, what it is, and what it means to you.
Totally. So Terminals was created originally as kind of our both a code distribution platform, but all-in-one stop for us to work with.
Yep.
Oh no! I see. I am now.
The Google Doc.
We were Google Doc. Nice. We're Google Doc.
Should be different.
There's no script. So
no.
Now we're black screens.
Oh, everything's going well. Nope. That's
no.
We're working now. There we go.
Hey.
There we go.
And touching this.
All right, let's try this again. Again. What is Terminals, Bryden?
All right. So originally, I mean, and still today, Terminals was created as kind of like this code distribution platform. Yes, roller coaster emotions. Yeah, Terminals was created as a code distribution platform, but also kind of like an all-in-one media stop for the people that we work with in the industry. It's a space for us to highlight the games that we're working on when it comes to our portfolio, both on the PR end and now even in the community side and video as well. But yeah, at a base level, Terminals is a platform that everybody can sign up for. And specifically, we're able to use it to showcase like all the games we're working on, specifically news that's happening, information about the release, information about when codes are available, and it's also the space we use to distribute said codes. It's a place that you're able to highlight the coverage that you've done with us. We're able to kind of build relationships via the platform with the creators that we work with. We also do that via other means, but it is kind of our self-made all-in-one shop that we made to work more directly with everybody. Because without a platform like this, a lot of it comes down to just like reaching out to lots of people via email, or you see other kind of key distro platforms in the space. But I'm Tom's original vision and kind of the vision overall was to have something that's a little bit more personal. There are people behind the distribution that's happening with codes, and you can see both the PR people and of Evolve and all the team members that are connected to the games, and reach out to them. So it kind of offers a space, I think, also for creators to it takes away some of the, as someone that used to create content on YouTube, sometimes it'd be really hard to find who am I supposed to contact, how am I supposed to get in touch about this game. and what am I supposed to do? You can go on terminals, you can browse games, you can find stuff that you're excited for. You might have one in mind already, but there's a bunch of other stuff on there too. And as we work together as PR and media, we build up a relationship, and it's a space that you can kind of just track the stuff that we do, and we get to follow along with what you cover for us. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been really good just because it makes everything a lot more transparent. Like, who are you talking to? What games do we have? Like, who are we working with? Especially with agency, it's not as clear as when we're a publisher or developer ourselves. But yeah, no, good. Thank you.
Breadtuber, yeah, breadtuber. Sorry.
And yes, highly professional stream as always, because this is not our job. So it's been a while since we've streamed. I'm actually just going to pull up. I'm going to see if I can pull up my agenda on my phone, so we will not be black boxes for the remainder of the stream.
I also have a window with the agenda on it, so if you want me to, help in that way too, I can roll through stuff. Also, that's kind of covering what terminals is. Who are we? Kind of also covered too. But as Evolve has grown, we're directly connected to terminals. It is the platform we use, as I previously said, to highlight all the games we're working on. But in the past, we used to be specifically just a kind of PR team, but now we also have a video team, community team, and our research team is growing out as well too. So you see us both in the space working on games in the PR sense, but we do trailers, we do video content. There's a lot of really amazing community stuff, as you've probably seen from Steph, posting amazing things that make me go, haha, so funny. That's Steph. And Astrid too. I love them both. And Michael. I love everybody. Everybody makes me laugh. But yeah, it's cool. We've been able to grow a lot. And yeah, terminals again is kind of the connecting tissue between Evolve and a lot of what we do. So us going to 2.0 is essentially us trying to clean up the process for ourselves, because some things on the back end over the years became a little bit harder. But over time as well, like for us as well, we noticed a lot of things that we got feedback from people saying that they wanted this to be streamlined, or we wanted to make discoverability easier. A lot of stuff that we're going to cover today. So
sorry if you covered it, but old terminals was dying a very slow death.
Yeah, I didn't say the word dying, but it was dying. It was very sad, and rest in peace. But also, like, we're just like, get out of here, get.
Yeah. It was just not very stable anymore. It was slow. It was just a pain in the butt. So part of the reason that we have 2.0 is it is completely rebuilt on the back end. So for everyone who's looking at it from the front, the functionality of the website is going to be pretty much the same. Yes, we know there's some issues and some things that happened before aren't working, but generally, it's not going to change that much for you guys at this moment in time. But it was completely rebuilt from the ground up, like completely redone. Which is why some of these issues have popped up. It wasn't just an update. It's completely rebuilt. And that was because of how unstable it was and just the way it was built in the past. But we're hoping that with the way that it's built now, there's a bunch of technical speak, which I can't talk to, that's all to a developer. But basically he made it a lot more modular, which means it's easier to fix, it's easier to update, and it's easier to add new features in the future. Whereas in the past, everything was kind of like spaghetti stringed together. And it was very hard to do one thing without breaking like anything else on the website.
There's also kind of the fact that over time we learned where we wanted to take certain things or add features and whatnot. And so that modularness is both meant to be, this is essentially new foundation for which we're able to build out the platform more going into the future. And yeah, it's not just a bunch of spaghetti all over the walls. joined together and you're trying to just like walk through it, and it's a bad time, not good at all. So yeah, now we're in a space that again, I think from the outside perspective, there will definitely be things that look cool and be like, oh, this looks like it'll be easier and a little bit more of a fresh look. But a lot of the stuff that we're like most excited about is on the back end, making our lives easier, making it easier to get back to people, make sure that we're communicating in a fast form, because a lot of times the issues with 1.0 were hindering us from essentially doing our jobs to the best of our abilities. So that's kind of I think the most exciting bit for us specifically internally. So
yeah, so let's jump into 2.0, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments before we jump into the next section. Yeah, we're hoping it grows a lot too, and the donation is a very nice thought. Thank you. We're glad to see like there's a lot of support for it. So yeah, thank you. But yeah, so first off, let's we have the dashboard. So before, when you logged into terminals, it used to just go to either the news or onto the browse page. And yeah, so it didn't, there wasn't really like a landing page as sorts. So this dashboard page is all new, and this is where once you log in, this is where you go. And it's kind of a little bit summary page of everything on terminals. So you have the key image here, and the key image is just news or a game that PR folks want to highlight for you. And it changes every time that you log in or you refresh the page. So right now it's Beyond Blue, but if I refreshed, I may see another game.
Yeah. It's the same as like kind of the what you'd see at the top in the past. But yeah, still images showing one. And yeah, just kind of our featured. They're usually the games that either major announcement happen, like at the Game Awards. If we announce Century or Season, you'll probably see them being featured. But also, if we have a game that's going to be launching soon and we have codes available, usually that type of information is highlighted in the featured section because we want you to know about it. So.
And then recent games are just our most recently updated games on terminals. There's a bunch of different ways that they can be updated. That's something we do. And
I'll just recent games is going to be both highlighting games that are going to be coming soon, also new projects that we're working on. It is a catch-all of essentially the most important projects that we're kind of having coming down the pipe in the future. Doesn't always cover everything because there will be other stuff that we might be working on for a while that is fallen out of that recent games queue, but we try our best to again surface as much of the information about important projects that we want you to know about. So
yeah, and then over here we have a little key request summary. So these are your most recently requested keys. I'm just going to double check that's right. Yeah, and it will show whether the keys are pending, whether they are approved. And yeah, so that like it will show that little summary here, and then you can view all of them by clicking on the website.
Yep.
And same with the coverage. It will show your most recent coverage down here. Don't forget to submit coverage.
Haha. Yeah, and again, dashboard, again, essentially just trying to take a lot of stuff that would have been there prior, put it all in one place, so there's a landing spot for the most important things that you're probably looking for on a like, hey, I'm just logging into terminals, like did my code for X game get approved? You can look at it from just immediately jumping to the homepage now, which is helpful. So
yeah, it's a very nice summary page, which did not exist before. We also have the discovery queue, which we'll jump into in a second here. Yes, that's kind of it. That's the dashboard. So what's new here is it's just a new default homepage, and some known issues that we have currently. We know that folks are having issues with the Twitter sign-on. That's being worked on at the moment. We also know about the mobile issues. I saw that coming up. We are working on mobile UI fixes, but it was either get the website up or it be down for another for longer. But yeah, mobile and Twitter sign-on are two of the major things that we're currently working on.
Exactly.
With that said, we can jump into the Discovery Queue, which is also a brand new feature of the new terminals. So if you have used things like Steam, you might have an idea of what a Discovery Queue is. It's currently all of the games that have open key requests or code requests on terminals, and it will show you a little trailer so you can see what it's about. And you can either request the keys right from here. You can watch the game. Watching a game means that you'll get all of the emails for the title, or you can ignore the game. And by ignoring the game, you won't get any emails or news blasts from that title. Through terminals.
Yeah, we essentially wanted like Discovery Queue is probably my favorite outward facing thing that is new in Terminals 2.0. And the reason why I like it so much is that it, like, at the end of the day, we don't want to be sending information for games that you're not interested in. That sounds like very counterintuitive to, say PR or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're focused on wanting to get games in the hands of media that are actually interested in the stuff that we're working on. And so for us, giving the opportunity to both just check in quickly and be like, is there any new games in the system that I haven't been aware of? The Discovery Queue lets you do that in a super quick kind of fashion, because all you got to do is click one of the options. You can even choose next in the queue if you just want to pass on a game for a period. But yeah, if they're in the space of us just trying to quickly show you what we're working on beyond the dashboard, giving a lot of that information, the Discovery Queue will show you a lot of projects that we have available for you to check out. And if you're not into any of them, you can simply ignore them, and then they disappear from your user experience on terminals. So yeah.
So that's all brand new. Then we can, as far as we're aware, there's nothing really much else to talk about here. So the browse aspect of the website, this is very similar to the old terminals. If you're familiar with it, here's where you browse all of our games that are on terminals, and it's it's just all of our games.
Yeah,
I think by
longer
default
list of recent games, essentially. Like I said, the recent games will cut off, but you can see there's quite a bit, and you can also sort by. So if you're looking for, let's say you want to take the discoverability aspect that we're talking about before, but just do it your own way and be like, I want to filter by platforms, filter by upcoming releases, recent releases. There's a lot of stuff that you can kind of do in that way to see both past and present what we're working on, or what we have worked on as well. And it's just kind of an overall directory.
So there's not really much new here. That if you're an old terminals veteran, with the exception that there's like some minor changes to the filters and the platform icons. We used to just say Windows or Steam or whatever. They're now icons, so that's a little bit quicker and easier to identify as you scroll through. And the only known issue that we currently have with the browse games is the filters. The filters are a little bit wonky at the moment. I won't really elaborate, but basically if the filters aren't working as you expect them to, we know we're working on it. And yeah, it should be fixed soon. And then for news. News is kind of a summary of all of our new releases and featured games. On the right side here are all of the featured games that PR wants to show you. Kind of similar to what we were talking about for the main key image on the dashboard. And yeah, this is just all of the news that have come through. So when you get emails and stuff about games, it's this news, basically.
Yep. So you can still go to terminals for news, but instead of that living on the dashboard, there's just a section for it now, and it's a little bit more, I guess, fleshed out visually, aesthetically, a little bit more pleasing. So yeah, and then the feature games that were there, or sorry, there was kind of like the hero images, what we call them, which were the top of the screen, which would kind of be on a carousel moving forward. Those ones are on the dashboard now, and they stick to one just to focus on in recent games. But if there are any featured games that pertain to, like I was saying before, news announcements that are important, code release or code requests that are now open, or anything kind of around that, you'll see them on the right side of the screen here. So
yeah, and there's again not much new here, though you can apply filters to them, which wasn't a feature in the past. And if you click on the title of the game, it should take you straight to the game page. Or sorry, it shows all the news for that particular site. My bad. So yeah, if you click on the news page, if you click on the game name, it shows you all of the news for that particular title. It's pretty neat. No issues for this one. Again, filters are wonky. Just basically filters across the website are a little bit wonky. So if you hit like open requests or yeah, some of the filters might not work as expected. But most of them work. Like it'll work to some extent, but sometimes it's just a little bit finicky.
yeah. And then in the long run, again, you'll be able to sort by the type of content that you want to see. So usually when we're putting out news, we'll break it down as like if there's a specifically just kind of like text-based news that we're sharing, that would be under just kind of general news. But if we have like a new trailer, then that would be under video. If it's specifically about code request opening, then that will be under code requests. If we are doing like, hey, this game is releasing on March 20th, and here's a new trailer for it, and code requests are open, then theoretically it'll pop up in those three categories. So yeah, it's kind of, you'll see the overall feed, but we'll do a kind of cleaner job of also letting you sort in that way. And then from our end, we'll highlight each major aspect of said news so that you won't miss a piece of it if you're coming to the site just to kind of get a lowdown of that. Because yeah, we tend to send out news, especially to news editors in the games industry, and people that we think based on tags and whatnot in terminals that are a good fit. But obviously that's not going to be everybody. So people using terminals that don't get our news sends consistently can kind of look at the news section and see the breakdown of that information in a more clean way. Because I think on 1.0, a lot of times if, let's say, code requests opened, news was sent out, and also video on live, sometimes we would only post one of those things just to not like clog this singular feed. But now with like the sorting options, I think it's a little bit easier for us to highlight just kind of all the details that are happening when they are.
That's the news. If we just jump into a game page from the browse. Yeah, so this is where, if you were to be browsing the website, this is where you go to get all of the information about a particular game. You can request keys here, if they are available, that is. If you have a key, you can also submit coverage for the game. And this is also where you go to watch games. And yeah, and when you watch a game, once again, that's kind of ensures that you get all the news blasts for that particular game. So news blasts include any upcoming information. That's when we let you know that code requests are open. There are various different emails that you get. As for what's new, it's kind of more of a look and feel.
Aesthetics, baby.
Aesthetics. There's some like minor things like news and announcements will cut off at 5, and then I'll kind of ask you to expand upon it more. pretty minor thing. I believe. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. It helps if you look at the right. Yeah, it's this new layout. It now shows game regions. We haven't
do
updated
like
it here.
the contact information. I like the images. I like staff. We're staff. I couldn't find a photo, so I just used this this face app photo of me that looked like an illustrious man from the 1800s.
In fact, that's kind of what you looked like before you got your haircut this weekend.
Now I'm a streamer. I came on this stream. I dyed my hair blue for this stream and this stream alone. That's what Vicky said to me. She's like, "Oh, I didn't get why you dyed your hair blue, but now I understand." I'm like, "Yeah, I was getting ready." I wasn't actually. It's just my life, but.
Yeah. So for like what's new is this PR section message are staffed directly from here. We'll get to inboxes in a second, but if you want to email someone, this is how you do it. It goes directly to their email right now because inboxes are, spoiler alert, they're not open right now. This is where you go to.
I was gonna say, I also, I mean, we're currently working on inboxes to kind of. That was one of the larger issues with 1.0 is that over time. So inboxes back in 20.
We'll come to that in a sec, Brad, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
It's a little bit later. But yeah, we'll explain inboxes in a bit here. But basically right now, this is where you get the contact information and it'll email them directly instead of inboxing right now. And it's not here at the moment because we realized we had to update them all. But there is a section here now for us to update what regions we are covering for the specific game. So in the past, it wasn't very clear whether we were just covering North America or whether it was worldwide. Whereas once we have this updated, it'll show you like we're working on North America and Europe, or just North America, or just Europe, or Asia, or whatever. Those will be shown here. It's just they were all default before, and so now we have to sorry, everyone probably heard that notification go off. But yeah, it will be there, so it'll be a lot more visual and a lot easier for folks to understand what regions we're working on because it was not very clear in the past.
Yeah, and I want to say quickly too that the aspects of regions, it's hard because from like an outside perspective, the logic behind it doesn't always make I wouldn't say it doesn't make sense, but like it can feel frustrating because I know that feeling where, you know, let's say you work with us on a regular basis and we have a super good relationship and you find out for X game that we are working on a specific region. A lot of times the reasoning behind that is because we are external PR when we are doing code distribution. So when we are working with a publisher or developer, we're often like either we'll be helping in full and we'll be kind of the entirety of the team that's doing that. Sometimes the development team or publishing team does some of the outreach for codes as well. Other times there's also other PR agencies that are involved in the process too. And when it comes down to regions, that is usually the split that you'll see. So, you know, when we're working with a certain game and it only says North America, it's not because we don't necessarily want to send to other regions. We're just being respectful of the relationship that we have with the developer or publisher. And so it isn't about like, say, only having codes for that region. It is that we are working with that team specifically for this region to help them, and that there is a other team helping for those other regions. So the goal with kind of clarifying that information on Terminals 2.0 is to make it explicitly clear when that is a possibility and when it isn't, and then also hopefully being able to direct you in an easy way so that you can also let's say we're doing only North American codes for a game, and you are in the UK, and you're like, what gives I can't get access to this, that we can kind of quickly direct you and let you know. But you can see clearly, oh, okay, this is a game that I'm not able to get access to based on region on terminals, and yeah, you can always reach out to us. We'll guide you in the direction of getting access, because we at the end of the day, we still want to see people covering the games that we're working on, and it just kind of comes down to the logistics of the business end of thing when it comes to that. So yeah. Sorry, long-winded, but I just wanted to also throw that in there, because that's the reason why it's important. It's not just us saying, like, for whatever reason we only have codes for this, or hey, we're specifically doing this because of question mark. That's the reason why that'll happen. And ideally we're able to send to all regions, but we just, we do our part when on the games that we're working on, and in those cases we'll be able to highlight the ones that we are only region based. So
yeah, and we think we just really understood how frustrating it was for folks, because it wasn't abundantly clear which regions we're working on until we had requests open, basically. And when requests were open, that's when you could see, like, we're only covering like North America or like North and South. Now you'll be able to know right away.
It was something that was brought up. Vaughn was saying in the chat, like, I'm just gonna pull out my I used to make content card in the stream, but like, one of the things, especially if you are trying to hit embargo, trying to be prepared pre-launch for a game, is knowing who to contact, being able to reach out early, being able to have the information available to you. So us being like, hey, this is what our situation is on this game, we're only doing these regions pre-launch, hopefully that'll alleviate some frustration when it comes to the actual request period. Because again, if we don't say that and you're just kind of following the game on terminals for, say, X number of years or months, you're like, I got it locked, I'm watching it on terminals, I'm getting all the news and all this stuff, and then it ends up being that you can't get codes from us, that can kind of be like this moment, like, oh, I have to now figure all this out, and it's only like 2 weeks for launch, and there can be stress and frustration with that. Good part is, if you like using terminals, the platform, you enjoy receiving news and information in general, you can still watchlist a game on there, you can still follow it, and you'll receive that information through our means. But at the same time too, when it comes down to codes and we highlight specifically the regions, you'll know that too. And you won't have to kind of worry about that information coming to you at the back end of, or near to a launch, essentially. So
yeah, I think it's really important is, like, it's when we talk about regions, it's mostly about code distributions. But then also we won't be like your direct PR contact if you have like questions or you want to set up an interview or stuff like that. We could probably still reach out and we'll forward you to the responsible party in your region. But yeah, you can still get news and all of that good stuff. Yeah. Right, what's next? I think it's keys. So your keys page, this is all of the keys that you have requested and or have received. And you can see the current status here. So if it says pending, then it means it's not been approved yet and you're just in the queue. It says approved, you have the key, and you'll have like a button here that says
key embargo information. Yeah, you'll be able to get your code from there too.
Exactly. And then if you cover the game, you can hit coverage straight from here. You can filter it too, so you can see like your approved, your pending, your denied keys, or any archived games here, which is pretty handy, so you can see exactly, because it adds them here. The one at the top is your most recently requested key, but just because you've requested it doesn't mean it will be approved. It will be approved. Oh my gosh, wow, words. It doesn't mean that your keys will be approved from the bottom to the top. Your keys will be approved based on when they are available, approved or denied. So yeah, you can sort them by approved or pending to see what's the status is. there's not really much new here if you're coming from previous terminals, other than it's much easier to access now. It was kind of hidden before, but now it's just like right here, right on your taskbar or toolbar. My web terms.
Taskbar, toolbar, thing at the top right corner of your screen.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's really new, and the filters. I will kind of asterisk this with the coverage part of it is under investigation because it doesn't seem to be working. Sometimes if you click it, it'll take you to a 404 page. This is kind of linked to additional issues under coverage, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, if you hit coverage and it's not working right now, that's a known issue. Again, we're working on it. Apologies. Should be back up and running as soon as we can. I'm just going to see if there's any relevant questions here. Oh yeah, I'm seeing some things about coverage and stuff, but yeah, that's some of these are known issues that we'll get to in a little bit. Then we have the watch list. I look like a terrible employee because I'm only watching one game. But basically, this is where you go, like all of the games that you're watching. Again, it just means you're going to get all of the emails for that game here. And then you can watch or unwatch them here. You can sort them by open, upcoming, or open or upcoming. And if you don't have games here, this is when you can go to the discovery queue and add some more to your watch list.
Exactly. Again, easy to add, easy to remove. So I think, like, again, it's a running theme of this, but a lot of it is kind of streamlining some of the stuff that might have been a little clunkier in the past, and also giving you easier access to the information that you need or want. So
yeah, and the only known issue in this one again is the filters. Anytime it's like open request or upcoming releases, that's currently a little bit buggy, but should be fixed soon. And then coverage. So something about terminals is, in its current state, you will still have to manually apply your coverage. So if you cover a game and you put it in terminals, it can be like any type of content. It can be a podcast, it could be a stream, it could be a YouTube video, it could be an article or blog. It's just really important to add your coverage to terminals because when we're looking at giving out keys, we'll often look at your history. So we'll see like, okay, you've requested or you've received 20 keys, but you have produced no coverage. It doesn't mean that it's an automatic no. Oftentimes our staff will go to you and be like, hey, you look like a good fit, but could you provide some coverage from previous games? Like, are you covering these games? If you are, they'll push you to provide said coverage. Yeah, do you want to provide some more insight there, Brian, on processes and stuff? 'Cause, again, you do more of that.
Yeah, I mean, for future, like, I think auto coverage would be, I saw that mentioned, would be, I love it. I think there's multiple, they would be very, very much a thing, but yeah, as Astrid is saying, it's on our radar. At the moment though, it's kind of essentially for us when it comes to coverage submission, it helps us see, what you're doing with the codes that we're delivering. I think there's like a large spread of kind of thoughts when it comes to I've received a code and this is what I need to do with it. A lot of times, like, what we're looking for most is just kind of communication. We don't expect everybody to, like, when we send out codes, it's not every code we send out there's coverage that is actually tracked, and then coverage submitted is less than tracked because a lot of times people don't submit coverage. So submitting coverage just kind of inevitably make sure that we see your content that you're making for the game, and then overall for us the goal is to, with slightly going to a different point here, but with key requests, understand kind of an idea and what you're making with the, or what your plans are for a code, and then with the coverage submitted, be able to kind of see the end result of that. And then on our end overall, we always appreciate when coverage is done. If there's ever a case where, you know, you just, for a multitude of reasons, weren't able to cover the game, that's never a huge issue. We totally respect that. We don't expect everybody to cover every single game, but for us, you know, being able to understand when that isn't happening as well, and kind of see a history too, is a great way for us to kind of build up rapport, especially for smaller creators. I think that one thing I would highlight is when we're able to see submitted coverage, you know, it is an extra step for you, but it helps us just kind of see a strong consistency. And you know, when we're tracking our coverage, we usually kind of get an idea for who are names, who's covering and what their style is, and all this type of stuff. Like, I genuinely mean this. It's like part of the job is having this repository in my brain of hundreds and hundreds of names and people and what they do. And I'm like, wow, you know, I feel like most jobs have like some sort of like piece of info where you're like, I don't know if this is, I'm just using a part of my memory for something that seems redundant, but it is super useful for us in this work. And when it comes to coverage tracking and us seeing all of that, it helps me understand what you're about. And in the long run, also just kind of helps with our relationship going forward into new projects and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's especially important, I think, if you're newer to this space or you don't have as close a relationship. If you're trying to build those relationships, the higher your ratio of coverage to key requests just helps build trust with not only us, but other PR reps outside of us as well. Basically, like if we give you a key, are you going to cover it? And we don't expect 100% coverage, but the higher your ratio is, the more trust we have.
Yeah. It's a field thing too. Like, we're able to see. Otherwise, we, you know, our research team is able to track specifically the coverage that's done on a game, but depending on how much coverage there is for a game or how deep we're going, sometimes we won't always see on the smaller end some of that content. So again, just kind of reiterating, but being able to submit your coverage, make sure that your coverage is seen by the developer publisher too, on our sheet of kind of who's covered. And then for us as PR people, we're able to, you know, let's say we click through to your profile, we're able to see kind of all that submitted coverage in a really easy to kind of parse way. And if I'm ever in a scenario where I have received a per request to codes given, there is some sort of struggle there for me where I have to make tough choices or I have to deny people. You know, being able to put a face to a name, being able to see coverage, having strong communication when it comes to key requests, all these things play a huge part in making it easy for me to just go, yes, I'm going to approve this code because I know kind of what the end result theoretically could look like. So,
yeah. And because Boosted Beard mentioned it, the delete Twitch bots. So it's actually okay because there are multiple websites out there which track which games you stream, even if there's not a VOD. You can just link your Twitch channel. So you can add, like, here I have the folder part, submit coverage, put your Twitch channel, and just in the note, you can either link us to something like Silly Gnome, or there's another one we posted about a while back. I'll try to find it again. There's two websites that we can use to track which games you cover, and they'll just say like your game, how long you played it for, your audience, stuff like that. As long as you put your channel in a note of, and you track like when you covered it. So I covered it on this day. Generally we can find it. It's just like if we see yeah, in our system, basically it just shows you coverage and keys. Yeah, how many keys you've gotten and then your coverage submitted. So as long as you hit submit, we'll see that ratio kind of on the front end.
Yeah,
and then that
it's
will be kind of verified by our terminals team.
exactly, yeah. And it's again, it's kind of like back end stuff for us, but that's part of the reason why we have some, these like submitted coverage was a thing. We wanted to tie that into codes, and we know that again, not everybody was going to do it, but we're able to see the kind of full circle sometimes when it comes to all that, which is really really useful for again us making decisions when it comes to sending out codes. So yeah.
With that said, we do know that there's some issues with coverage right now. If you have submitted things in the past to Terminals 1.0, it may not show up. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. You don't need to go back in backlog right now because it's something that we're currently investigating. It's also kind of if you're trying to add coverage manually from here or from game pages, if you add coverage from here and then it's like add a game, not all the games are listed. And if you go to a game page and then you hit submit coverage, it may take you to a 404 page. Again, these are things that we are actively looking into and should be fixed soon. Just basically, we know that coverage is an issue. So as we are saying all these things about submitting coverage is important, etc., we currently understand that it's a thing that we're working on. So it's less of an issue, or it's not something that we're paying super close attention to at the moment. But it's something to keep in mind for in the future when it's fixed. And we'll give you updates on Twitter. It's really important to follow us on Twitter or we'll show it to you in a little bit here. There's a little change log in the bottom right. It's important to keep updated either on Twitter or there. So you know if/when these things are fixed and whatever next steps we'll ask for you. Anything else on here, Brian? Coverage? No? Okay. Inbox. Rest in peace inboxes. So on the old website, you might have been familiar. You were able to send messages to and from all of our PR reps through the terminal system. And as Brian kind of alluded to earlier, it was partially the reason that Terminals 1 kind of died or was on the way out. So we currently just scrapped the whole thing so we could get Terminals 2.0 up and going as fast as possible. We would like it to come back in some capacity. We just don't know how to do that just yet. So right now you get this message. If you have to have any questions or anything, the email for terminals. This goes directly to our terminals staff. It's kind of the back end folks who deal with more terminals questions. Whereas if you have questions about games, go to the game page. So if you go to browse, go to Century or any of the games. This is the best way to contact our staff. And yeah, it'll go through emails for now. We know some folks liked the idea that it was out of emails and that it was on terminals. We understand, but it was, again, it's a lot more tricky to do than we anticipated, I think.
Yeah, and I think like from the PR end of things, there was a shift over the years of the usability of the inbox. It used to be very I don't know, it used to be relatively like easy to use and not too error driven. But then it got to a point where more and more issues popped up, and yeah, a lot of notifications or a lot of like unable to filter notifications. So when it came to, let's say, 2019 2020 Bryden trying to get communication back and forth with people, it was like I just wanted this to be on email because it is way more clean. I used to consistently clean out my inbox on terminals, but because of the errors and issues that were happening, I slowly became more frustrated on the back end with that and would drive most of my conversations with people to email. So at its current state, us being able, like you having an issue and just being able to message me directly to my email is like infinitely better, because my email is where I am every day checking, making sure that the majority of questions are being answered, and kind of going through it to avoid being in a spot where people are being left unattended to with whatever they have going on. But the inbox on terminals, both between errors and being overrun, was a space that I oft wasn't checking, especially in the last while, comparatively to the past. And I'm not going to say that this is the same for everybody, because there might be some amazing PR people on the team that had the patience of I don't know what to describe it, with the amazing patience, and I love them. They might have been checking their inboxes regularly, but as me, and previously knowing the functionality and how it had fallen, I kind of was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna direct everybody I possibly can to my email. And so at this point right now, that's where we're at, and I'm happy with it, because it just means we'll be able to talk relatively quick. My only request is that I'll try and give clear answers to clear questions, and then we leave it at that. If there's a thing that we need bumping on, where I'm like, I don't have the answer yet, you can definitely email me back. But I always appreciate people not abusing the access point, because that was the one thing that was good about that, is that you could go there to answer very specific stuff about terminals, and I think it'll be totally fine. But hopefully this leads to more communication back and forth between everybody. So.
And I know there was also a lot of frustrations too, where a lot of things were just not being delivered to us. Like terminals was eating messages like no tomorrow, and so it ended up with a lot of frustration on both sides, in which we were sending them and people weren't sending them, so they thought they were being ghosted, or they were sending things and we weren't receiving them, so they thought that they were being ghosted and or ignored. So this should make things a lot more transparent, just because our emails are a lot more stable than the previous inboxes were. So fingers crossed. But yes, if inboxes ever come back, we will let folks know. But for now, that's like a pretty big change through the whole system. Then yeah, I don't really want to jump into my settings at the moment. 1 second. I'm gonna make sure there's nothing like hold on. I'm just gonna make sure that there's nothing in my settings that is personal. It shouldn't be. Yeah, okay. We're good.
You're good.
We are
You're
good. Doesn't hurt to check. Alright. There we go. So yeah, if you didn't see where that was, you just click on your little profile and go to settings. This is where you go to update your different profile. Your first name, last name, your emails, what kind of account type you are. We'll talk about some of this stuff here, but yeah, your main language, your region, and user tags. User tags are super important, and now that we're in 2.0, it's a super important time to update them, especially if you have gotten the new platforms or the new generation of consoles. You can go here and hit like Xbox Series X, PS5. You can get rid of any that you don't have, like I'm not on Fire OS. I don't have a touch, Gear VR. So go and double check your user tags. It's just a really good time to go update these. These are important.
This is what I say too. Sorry, I was going to jump in really quick and say your user tags are a super, super good example of what a lot of people's user tags look like, in that the new consoles are not listed, and a lot of stuff that you don't have is listed. And the reason why this is because we wanted, like, the default, if you haven't edited it, and we've added stuff in the past, has been to give you access to all this stuff. But if you haven't updated your platforms or interests in the past, really, really recommend it, because again, the discoverability queue is going to be amazing for the fact that you're able to ignore stuff. If you just want to straight up not see things in general across the board, the user tags are a great place for that too, because what we do on the back end of our system is when we are trying to say, make a list for a game where we're like, okay, This game is a first-person horror game coming to the PlayStation 5 in 2022, and we're trying to make a list of people that we think are going to be interested for this preview. Part of the process is going to be us doing manual research to find who we think is best. The other part's going to be us using terminals to create a user list based on people that use the system. So let's say you absolutely hate horror, like Steph. You don't want to, maybe you're fine getting that email potentially, but you're not going to be interested in the opportunity. If we are in the position where like I'm going to be reaching out and Steph has everything listed as her interests, then I'm going to go, okay, cool. Steph is, if I do a deeper search and I see absolutely no horror on Steph's channel, I'll be like, maybe this is inaccurate, and could check and see that all the user tags are listed and go, oh, okay, this is probably not actually defined. But if you want to do that for yourself, take like a minute or two to specifically highlight your interests and specifically highlight your platforms, then opportunities that might not fit you won't hit you, or news for stuff that you wouldn't be interested in won't come to your inbox either. And again, we do our own vetting. Like I again have this repository of information in my brain, as a lot of PR people do, of who's into what, and we try and do as much research when it comes to opportunities for games, especially when people are not, say, variety, I like all, or I like a large quantity of stuff. We try and not waste people's time, but it always helps to either be reminded or say there's people in the team that are less experienced, because if you come into the PR role and you're more entry level, they can still have a lot of time build up needs to happen to get to the point of understanding a lot of people's interests and remembering that. So you being able to just kind of quickly say to us, hey, here's my interests, here's the platforms I'm on, will save you a lot of stuff that potentially you might not be interested in. And then also for us too, we don't feel bad when say we don't have that relationship with you where we know specifically you do or don't like something, and then we hit you up and you're like, I hate horror. Like, why are you showing me this? And then we go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, because a lot of times, again, we will try and be as personal as possible, but we want to also get our information out, and we want to share news widely in certain cases when we say announce an exciting new game. But if you're never going to care about horror and you just want to make that explicitly clear, you can just unclick that, and then you're good. So it's kind of a general, I think, good thing to do if you haven't done it in the past.
Yeah, I would say like user tags are one of the major ways that our PR reps set up news blasts. Is they'll say things like Brendan said, if you have a horror game on PlayStation 5, they would say all users that have PlayStation 5 and horror tag.
Yeah.
So if you have PlayStation 5 but you haven't tagged horror, you may not get the email by default. If you just have horror but you don't have PlayStation 5, you may not get the email because it's looking for like the end argument. So just make sure that you have everything that's relevant tagged properly. Because a lot of times we'll see, why am I not getting this information, or why am I getting this information? It's because your tags aren't updated properly.
Yeah.
Are there times when Brendan said, like they have done it manually and they've added someone to a list manually? Yes. But more often than not, it's because your tags aren't updated.
Exactly. And I think, if someone were to say, like, I get a lot of emails from terminals or from Evolve, it's likely that your interests are everything. And prior to the discoverability queue, that meant you were going to see everything that we were working on if we were using the tags to the full of our ability. Sometimes we do more limited searches too, where we're like, or user lists where we'll go, this is just a news blast and we want specifically news writers to see this. So then it might not hit everybody. But usually, again, if we're doing a larger announcement and we want people to know about it, then we try and do a wider audience blast so that people are aware of a game that we're working on. But yeah, being able to update these will cut back some of that, and being able to ignore stuff in the discover queue is going to also help for you just kind of looking at something and being like, I usually like strategy games, but this is just doesn't seem to be my cup of tea. It doesn't appeal to me. You can just ignore that, and then we won't. You can still say that you like strategy games, but you ignored that game specifically because of your interests, and you'll continue to get strategy information from us on whatever you're interested in that genre, but you won't get it for the thing that you already explicitly told us you are not interested in. So
yeah. And I saw someone comment that there's a lot of green. It's because I need to be on all of the tags so I get all of the emails. I know I've got a couple here that are unchecked. It's just because they were newly added to the system. But green means that they are checked off, and that's what you want to get. But yeah, that's why I have them all on. It is not the ideal way to have your tags. This is not an example of what your tag should look like.
We usually kind of set ourselves up to receive most of the things internally so that we can kind of confirm something that went out, or even just kind of be aware of what our coworkers are doing. But if I say we're on the flip side of this, I would explicitly highlight the stuff that I wanted to see and would use these interest tags, platform tags, and discover queue to kind of make it so that I see specifically what I want. And I recommend that everybody should do that too, if they take a few minutes of their time. So
yeah, so like 2.0 is just like a great time to come in here and just like refresh all of your information, just double check that your outlet URL is updated. If you've moved somewhere, that your contact information is updated. Yeah, go in, do a refresh of your tags, all of that good stuff. Now's a really good time. It's also where you can go to the two-factor authentic. Oh, that's one of the words I can't say. Help me, Bryden.
Two-factor. Oh no, I was like factor. Two-factor authentication.
Thank you. There we go. Yeah. So this is all like where you go do it.
That'd have been great if both of us were just like, you scared me by saying that. We're just like, two-factor,
It's just both a word that neither of us can say.
I struggle with my THs sometimes, so I feel.
Yeah, for like what's.
Yeah. We could have just gone the easy route.
We could have. What's new in the settings? The overall layout is a little bit different, so things might be in a slightly different place than you were used to in the past. It's also a little bit more obvious what your current media status is, whether you're pending. You might be under re-verification if you have updated your outlet URL, for example, and the type of role that you have in our system. Yeah, it's a little bit more obvious now than it was in the past. I'm trying to think what else. There's your linked accounts. It's also like a lot easier to access your data, so you can now download all of your data from terminals, and you can request it to be deleted as well. And this is just to comply with the GDPR. GDPR, that's right? The privacy laws in Europe, basically. Yes, thank you. So yeah, that is to be compliant with that. So that's good, great. Respect your privacy. And also we've removed all of the address data that was in terminals. So previously we had some folks addresses because we were sending like yard kits and stuff in. That's just gone. Now it's just your city and country. And the reason that we still need that data is sometimes in a pre-COVID world, there may have been events in certain cities, or again, if we were doing sends, so like press kits or any of those things, then we could, again, in the back end, we could filter our users to those different areas. But yeah, we just thought it was important not to have address data anymore. It's gone.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what's new. You can also like add and remove your two-factor insecurity, etc., etc. Now, there are some known issues in the settings right now. So right now you can't change your region in the general section. Right now, if you try to change it from North America, it's going to default you to North America. We're aware, we're looking into it. So you may have to update that in a little bit. Again, keep tabs on our Twitter /changelog. Also, some platforms cannot be linked in your linked accounts. So I think it's just YouTube right now. It might still be Steam as well. Those linked accounts may not be working. If you have linked your accounts like Twitch, for example, it may not show the correct stats. It may show that you have 0 followers or anything like that. That's fine. Don't panic. We're aware it's an issue. It's not just your account. Generally, we're not looking at those for numbers right now anyways. Those are things that we will be looking at manually, just because the way Twitch updated their API sometime last year. Yeah, that's like kind of all of the known. So yeah, there's a couple of bugs here in the settings. Probably best to keep eyes on Twitter, where we'll update you all as they get fixed. As for the help section,
help.
The frequently asked questions. This is where you can go if you have questions. So we talk about like what media status is on the website, what are the requirements for media status, all that stuff there is now in the help section. It used to be kind of like buried under in the footer. I believe it's still, yeah, and it's also still in the footer. So it's just like another place to access it. This is where we direct everyone who asks, like, what do I need for media status? Like, help, I was rejected, or this is where, what are your requirements? This is where we send everybody. Mm-hmm. And this will be the most up-to-date information. When we went to 2.0, our media status requirements did not change, but it is something that we're reconsidering for the future. It's ongoing discussions for us. So we will update if and when there's any changes that happens.
Yeah, and a quick note on and status requirements, like ideally we're able to have everybody on the platform so that they can kind of see the news and find out about the games that we're working on and all that. But a large part of that does come down to us trying to verify individuals, because what we act as for a lot of developers and publishers is a kind of middle person to help the team understand who's interested in their game, and also make sure that their keys that they're sending out are going to legitimate human beings and not bots that are going to sell the codes on the black market of video games. So that's kind of the main reasoning behind it. And then we have our own philosophies, and when it comes to kind of the levels for code distribution that we want to do, but we also have to adhere to what a developer or publisher is also looking for, or kind of meet in the middle and talk about that. So the status requirements to kind of give us a somewhat of a small barrier to highlight to these developers and publishers I guess like a certain level of return or like engagement with the content that's being made, and then we kind of then parse that information ourselves when it comes to actually sending out codes, which is a whole other discussion, because there's amount of codes that go out and what we're able to do with that per requests and stuff we were talking prior about what's your past history with submitting coverage, what are you using the code for, what's the game like, what type of audience are we going towards. There's a lot of kind of like things that go into specifically that, but the media status requirements help me kind of be able to see that the terminals team has both verified that you are, one, a human being, and two, make active content that kind of meets the standards, if you will, of both us that we set for clients, and then what developers and publishers want when we are supporting their games. So
yeah,
and
I think
that's all
people
there
don't
for you to look
realize
at. So.
for developers and publishers that aren't in terminals, how much time goes through trying to verify, like finding emails and then verifying emails of requests, and whether those are, like, if someone says that they're Saikuno or whatever, like that's actually him rather than just like a random person claiming to be them. So that's like a big part of it. I will say, I saw a question, if you were approved, do you need to be reapproved? No. Whatever was in your previous terminal should have come over. So if you were verified pre terminals 2.0, you should still be verified. The only time that you will have to re-verify is if you change any of your profile settings to do with your like outlet URL. So you won't have to resubmit if you change your tags, but any of your outlet stuff, like updating your URL, those things will need to be verified. Or if you're moving from media to content creator, for example, that will have to be re-verified. I think that's it for, other general improvements that have happened in the website. There's no more redirects to the homepage, which is pretty, that was a big complaint for us internally as well as people externally. And basically what this means is when you used to get emails through terminals and it was like, hey, go check out this game, like go watch it or click it or whatever, it used to just go to a homepage because it had to relog you back into the website, but then it would direct you to the homepage. And then if you click the link again after it re-verified your login, it would go to the place that it wanted you to go to. But yeah, the double clicking / like the unclarity of like not knowing where you were going, that's fixed. So now if you click on a web, if it's like this is game news, go to the news page, it will take you there. It no longer has to re-verify your login, which is pretty cool because I know that was one of my biggest complaints. Generally just more stable. You should see less downtime with terminals 2.0. Does it mean it'll never go down? No, but it should be significantly more stable.
Yes.
Which is pretty big. Friendlier URLs, which just means before I used to say like terminals ID and then it was just a string of numbers. Now it will say the game name in the title.
Yeah.
And then big privacy and data control. That's kind of other big ones that are a little bit less noticeable but incredibly important.
The city and country stuff again helps us when it comes to when we're talking about regions and region-based information for codes, because again that's still a thing that we have to deal with, and as previously mentioned in the stream, that'll be highlighted on the game pages. So your country, highlighting, having that being accurate, please just list what it is and don't try and skirt around the system. That's really important because then we're able to understand the region that you're based in. And then for city-based stuff, that can play a little bit more into opportunities that might be happening for previews, and again, tying into potential kit sends, and in some other future where we're able to do event-based stuff, that is also useful because it means that we're able to understand in a very quick way, hey, who's in LA, for example, or another city, depending on where a thing might be happening. It's super useful because then we're able to find out for a multitude of different opportunities, people that we should reach out to, and then we can reach out to you via email and be like, hey, this is X opportunity that we're looking to do. Are you interested in it? This is what information beyond that we need. So at that point, you then get to kind of obviously make the choice of whether that's interesting to you or not, and then we move forward from there. But the base level of country and city just kind of gives us like, okay, cool. We know generally where you're at, both for code requests and then for more like preview, press kit kind of inquiry stuff. And then we can kind of take the conversation to email lead it to there for those type of things. And yeah, it's saves you from inputting extra information about yourself. And then yeah, we are also compliant with privacy issues, and then but we still have enough to kind of go on when it comes to making sure that we're notifying you about opportunities that might be of interest. So
yeah, and that's about all we have. Oh, the one thing I will show everyone is the changelog. So you do have to click on them to see them, but this is where we're going to show you like what's changed, what's added, all that good stuff. And this is also where you can go to suggest the features. So if there's something internals that you think should be in there, like, you know, we talked about auto coverage, for example, or if there's just like something like, oh, this wording's not very clear to me, you can suggest the feature here. If there's something that's like technically wrong with the website, so for example, we talked about some of the things that are known issues at the moment, but if you come across something that's broken or not working as expected, you can come to the changelog and submit a bug right here, and that will go to directly towards our developer. Right now we're getting tweeted at a lot of things, which is totally fine. I've been uploading the bugs, especially because, like I said, we don't have a public place to show what is known bugs. That might be something that we work on in the future, or we show maybe in future changelogs. But yeah, this is where you can go to do settings, see the changes, submit feature requests and bugs. Yeah, but like we have about 10 minutes for questions, Q&A. I know Asher's been in chat answering a bunch. I see cloud gaming coverage. The thing is we have never gotten keys for said platforms. Currently, the way that they work, they don't really give keys. At least we haven't worked with anyone who's ever a publisher or developer that's ever gotten keys from said platforms. They usually handle everything internally as a platform. So if that ever changes, we would add them, but currently that's not something that we can handle. Again, maybe that's not across the board, but maybe other developers or publishers have had other experiences, but that's currently been our experience with them.
Also, just a quick note, did we talk about kind of what we're looking for in verifying accounts?
Don't think so. Go ahead.
Cool. So as I wanted to mention this because it's kind of tying into the last bit. Feel free to drop questions in the meantime, and we'll go over those. But when we are verifying accounts, so again, there are media requirements, but another issue that can come up is, let's say you make an account and for example, me, I work at Evolve PR. I have an Evolve PR email. I make an account on Terminals. And I go, okay, my name is Bryden Kex, and I'm signing up with my Bryden Kex other email, which I was just about to say out loud. Not going to do that. So my personal email, let's say I just kind of like, I just go, okay, here's my name, here's my email. That is just another kind of platform that doesn't verify me, and that's it. And I post, and I'm like, okay, verify me. And there's no other information whatsoever for that. It is very, very hard, if pretty much completely deniable from our Terminals team, because you're giving our Terminals team pretty much nothing to go on in regards to verifying that you are that person. We get people that try and be other people. We also get people that are real people, but they just completely don't fill out their profile whatsoever. So a few things that are good for kind of making sure that we verify you is, you know, using being able to highlight for us specifically if you do have a domain-based email to whatever media that you're making. That's super easy. That's super helpful. Otherwise, you know, like being able to connect to other stuff, like let's say you're Twitter account lists your email address in it and is like a notable Twitter account that then it looks like we were able to put the pieces together and matches up. Same thing if you have a YouTube channel and you have it listed on the YouTube about. There's a lot of ways that you can kind of just make sure that you are who you are. The more information that you give us about just kind of what you're about, linking specifically the accounts that you use. And this is really important because let's say I'm doing like a code request approval. I often look at the profile of said requester, and let's say you are Twitch focused and you don't have your Twitch account linked to your terminals. I then have to potentially click through on the kind of about profile stuff that if you put it there, and if the link's broken or whatever, then I have to kind of like go through the process of re-entering it correctly. When you're able to just kind of link it via terminals, it'll tell me like most of the basic information that is needed like immediately right there, kind of almost as a spit out. So it's super easy for me to then go, okay, cool. This is what you're about. I can see your channel with like a single click too. Click through, look at some previous videos. Have you been, previous content done? I can check via our kind of tracking platforms to see if you've been doing stuff recently or haven't done stuff in over 6 months or whatever. All that's really, really useful for just making sure that we are actually able to clarify who you are. And yeah, making sure that the emails listed in the bio, you're using Linktree, as I previously said, to highlight the platforms that you want. Again, if you're able to verify your Twitter account too via that just makes like super easy. If you're able to confirm your Twitter, which you need to like kind of put in your information so that it says, oh yeah, like you have attached this account, and then your email is in your Twitter account, it's full circle. We understand that you are who you are. And just for your own safety, two-factor authentication is super, super important too. Again, we're keeping barely any info, but just your own safety when it comes to accessing codes and also requesting stuff. There's been cases in the past where people have gotten access to someone's terminals account and then have requested stuff, and then the actual creator has been like, that wasn't me. Two-factor authentication helps kind of stop that from happening. So those are some big things that both for your account safety, again, even though there's not that much information, just make sure that you're not having someone come in and request codes for you. And those bits that I mentioned prior, really valuable for just making it really like, Kai on our terminals team looks at that, is able to see the loop, able to see that you are who you are. Doesn't have to be any back and forth emails. Doesn't have to be like, hey, you need to add this or change this or whatever. It's just easy verification done. And especially when it comes to, say, you signing up or re-verifying for terminals because of a game specifically that you want, that makes it so that we're able to just easily approve it and not have to run through extra loops. Because again, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're not giving codes to scammers and people that are pretending to be you. So if we do take a little bit of time with this stuff, it is because of those reasons, and you taking those extra little moments to make sure that we're able to verify you is always really appreciated. So
yeah, two-factor, don't reuse emails. Don't reuse passwords. Use something like LastPass and two-factor because it is a trust thing at the end of the day. And not only are we trusting you, but publishers and developers are trusting us to get the keys to who we said that we're giving them to. Yeah, I think unless there's any last minute questions, I think we might just call it there. For folks who joined in late, we will upload the VOD to YouTube. I hope I changed the settings so it'll automatically upload to Twitch, but if not, I have a physical copy here. Yeah, so it may be on Twitch if I do this properly, and if not, it will be on YouTube, and we'll post on Twitter to let you guys know where to go. We'll also try cut it up / do the like chapter thing, so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you were here. But it's been a pleasure. And this is only the beginning for terminals. Really, it's a new step. What you see now is not the final form. We're hoping to, obviously, there's the major bugs or the bugs that are currently in the system, which we're trying to fix. But once that's all done and ready, we are looking to grow the website and continue to add things, change some processes, continue to improve it as we go along. Thank you so much for watching, your comments, your questions. Thank you to Astrid and the various other Evolve folks in chat answering questions. Thank you, Bryden, for joining me.
Of course, happy to be here. I was, I'm going to do it now. I was going to equate Terminals 2.0 to an anime character that is leveling up over time and learning new abilities. But I was going to be like, no, I'm going to be more professional. But now I've said it. So here we are.
The two weebs on stream, so you know what? It's fine.
Yeah. I'm not a weeb. What are you talking about? Hides air.
But yeah, and as always, follow us on Twitter. It's Terminals IO. I believe. I'm gonna feel really bad if it wasn't. Yeah, Terminals IO. Follow us on Twitter for the latest information. We will try to update you as fixes come through, as updates happen. We'll just do our very best to keep you all updated. But hope everyone has a great 2021, and we'll see you all next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.